Also, I'm noticing something, and I don't know if you're seeing this too. We are told that Joe Biden wants nothing but for her to win. But sometimes she's been live on TV and then he's popped up and done a press conference, or he's popped up and given a speech. Is he trying to Bigfoot her a little bit?
I couldn't love this anymore. Get the popcorn. I can't wait for more of these episodes. Clearly, there's a little sibling rivalry. There's trouble in paradise inside that White House. Can you blame him? He plucked her out of obscurity. She was a total failure when she ran for president. She didn't get any votes. She was so humiliated in the early primaries that she bailed early on in the process before a single state voted. So he plucked her out of obscurity and failure because she's a black woman. And he was very explicit about that being the reason why he chose her. He promised James Clyburn he'd pick a black woman if Clyburn would get him South Carolina, which got him the nomination. And what does she do? I mean, truly, like Psycho, like the movie Psycho, stuck the knife in. As soon as he showed, publicly what he was experiencing, and there was signs of utterly failing mental acuity, about which she had known for a long time. She wasn't loyal. She had those other parties and those donors, the party donors lined up behind her in a New York minute. So she'd been working on it for weeks, which he's obviously aware of. So yeah, there's no love lost between the two of them. And now you've seen two in as many working days, times in which he got her back. She was out there at a Michigan campaign event on Friday saying, "Look at me, we must go forward. Can't go back. Come with me." And he comes out to the White House lectern and he's like, all the same. She was with me at every step. There's no daylight between. And all the cameras went to him. The sitting president of the United States, for the first time appearing in the White House press briefing room in his entire presidency. All the nets take it. All the cameras are on him. They go off of her. No one gives two craps about her anymore. And that's the message they picked up, which is now the lead on all the nightly news shows. And then he doubles down today. She decides to pick a fight with Ron DeSantis because she thinks it makes her look good to fight with a prominent Republican, even though the man right now truly is trying to save lives. I don't remember the last time a Cat 5 hurricane was barreling toward the Gulf Coast of Florida. Those things are monsters. They're talking about storm surge like we've never seen that may have cities as large as Tampa, Florida, underwater. The mayor of Tampa, and there are some dozen towns around it, said today, if you stay, you will die. Wow. Ron DeSantis is the governor of that state. He has truly a lot to deal with. They're still recovering from Hurricane Helene, which devastated the same area 2 weeks ago. And she decides to get political with him and to pick a fight with him. Why? Because she's probably still ticked off about his abortion law and his ill-named, according to the Dems, Don't Say Gay bill, which was not anything of the kind. So she thinks he's going to be fun to fight with, without any appreciation for the distraction she's now causing for a man who truly has people's lives in his hands. I heard a guy who lives in Florida, well-known commentator here, Charlie Cook, talking about this recently, saying, really, in Florida, he's a Florida resident. We elect somebody as governor just so they can get us through hurricanes. That's the main job, get us through hurricanes. Ron DeSantis is doing it. He's done a stellar job of it. She decides it'll be fun to needle him. It'll be fun to distract him. It'll be fun to get political on him because he didn't take my phone call. He ignored me. So when she gets a mic in front of her, oh, now she wants to talk to the press. Great, I'll talk to them. And she stops outside of her airplane and she says, oh, he's playing politics. He won't take a phone call from me. He won't talk to Joe Biden. Then what a terrible time to get political. Well, Ron DeSantis goes on Fox News with Sean Hannity on Monday night, and he let her have it, saying in 3.5 years, she's never once called me, not once, to help out with the hurricanes that we have every fall. That's hurricane season in the United States. Not a once. And he said, I'm working fine with Joe Biden. He and I are getting along. We're working. She has nothing to do with this. She's never had any responsibility when it comes to a hurricane, and she doesn't today. And so now we're at issue, as we say in the law. We're at issue. We have one party saying he wouldn't take my call or that of President Biden, and we have the other party saying she's a nothing. She's never involved in this crap. I'm talking to the man who is in charge. And what happens today? Joe Biden comes out and says, I've been talking to Ron DeSantis all the time. We're working very well together. In the drama, it's another back to her, only it pales in comparison to what she did. So she deserves it.
Now, quite importantly, I think you're the only person with access to a camera in the United States who is talking about a story that has been bubbling for a long time, and it is who would come with Kamala Harris into the White House. That, of course, being her husband, Doug Emhoff. Now, he is presented as the new version of masculinity, but as we know, he knocked up the nanny, he got her pregnant, the baby didn't happen. She claims that the miscarriage was in part because of his behaviour towards her. And then a story this week that he had actually physically assaulted a woman while in France, and the claims are very detailed, yet he still keeps getting these softy interviews, or Kamala gets to pretend that he's the champion of women.
No one is asking either one of them about it. Not a one. And let me tell you something. So this wasn't 30 years ago that Doug Emhoff allegedly beat a woman. It was 2 years before he met Kamala Harris. It was 2012. So it was 12 years ago. He was dating a high-powered attorney, attractive woman. They went over to Cannes, France together for some red carpet gala. I think it was an AIDS benefit. And when they left, at some point in the wee hours of the morning, they're on the red carpet out on the street, and they're waiting in the valet line to get a cab. And she goes over to try to slip the valet a couple dollars so they can get a cab earlier. And she puts her hand on his shoulder, like you do to get somebody's attention sometimes. And that, according to these three people who know this woman well, was the catalyst for Doug Emhoff hauling back and slapping her so hard across the face that she stumbled and was whipped around in her high heels and her gown. 99% of the men watching this program right now have never touched a woman like that.
100%.
There's not a level of anger that could ever drive them to even consider it. Not even to, but can you imagine what it would take? What kind of a hair trigger he must have for him to do it in front of others on a public street, in front of obviously the valet and the cab drivers at least, but we know it was a long line waiting for the cab, so civilians as well. And for him to respond with that level of violence over a hand on the shoulder of a valet, if any word of this is true, and they've got three close witnesses to her, he's a sick man who should be nowhere near our White House or all the responsibilities that will entail, and dignitary meetings and interactions he will have. I was thinking about the White House Christmas party every year, where they have like 7 or 8 of them. And I used to go from time to time because I was a member of the press. And you go and you have your picture taken with the president and the first lady. Usually with him, it would be first quote gentleman, nothing of the kind. And what's he going to do? He's going to put his arm around you, and he's going to have that hand that beat a woman 12 years ago around you. And you're going to smile for the cameras, and you're going to celebrate this new form of masculinity that is totally non-toxic. That's what the press is telling us. Paul, if this were an allegation that were just in some tabloid magazine, without support, I would not have touched it either. But the Daily Mail is not some tabloid magazine. It's actually a legit press outlet.
Absolutely.
And while it does do some more tabloidy things with stars and so on, that's a separate page. It's broken a lot of stories and a lot of news. And let me tell you, when they do stories about me, these days at least, they run down the facts with me every time. They were doing some pieces during the NBC years that we're not gonna go there. So they get 3 witnesses, one of whom is a man she called while in trouble. And this man is also a professional who spoke with the Daily Mail and wouldn't give his name. I mean, the Daily Mail has it, but he didn't want to come out publicly. And he's produced the airline tickets. They've got receipts. The other friend out of the 3 was a contemporaneous witness too, who she spoke to in time, along with the alleged assault. And then the third she told sometime thereafter. So these are 3 contemporaneous witnesses who can vouch for this story. And here's the biggest tell. If you were ever accused of this, or if any of the guys watching this were ever accused of this, and you're running, your spouse now is running for president, what would you do?
You'd just be straight out and say,
go back to the...
But you'd come straight.
You'd say
no way. Can you come
0.
forward and tell Megyn absolutely no freaking way?
There it is. You go to the ex-girlfriend and you say, this is terrible what they're doing to me. Would you please, I know this is an inconvenience, but would you please? And any woman would say, of course, if she were not actually hit, No woman wants to be some fake domestic violence victim whose name isn't out there. Like, there's no possible motivation for this woman to be claiming to be a victim when she's not. She hasn't rushed out for fame or fortune. She's reportedly a Democrat. She reportedly wanted a Democrat to win this. She just thinks he's a scumbag. And her friends now are getting very irritated at the press trying to make him into Jesus. So I predict we're going to know this woman's name, and I predict she may indeed come out before November 5th, because they just keep poking the bear. And the more interviews Doug Emhoff does, he did one post this story hitting, where the reporter, in quotes, did not ask about it, the angrier this woman's going to get. So he's playing with fire here.